So this is my first go at filming a video of me talking to camera about my healing story. I've suffered with chronic fatigue syndrome and a myriad of other symptoms for over a decade. But my major crash was almost exactly 10 years ago, and I have been in that crash with a couple of moments of cessation in my symptoms or pain, and a lot of new symptoms cropping up and going and coming, and it's been a long road. I've tried every modality. I've tried every healing method, seen every specialist, and it actually took me quite a long time to get that diagnosis. I was probably, how long was I in? I was probably 6 or 7 years into my crash before I had that real diagnosis. I was aware that was probably what was happening before that, but also didn't really need the diagnosis until I was like, you know what, I need someone to tell me what this is. I need a doctor to say it. And it was actually, I was reading Raylan Eggles's book, and she, very similar story to mine, and she went to a doctor and was like, we need a diagnosis. And I was like, oh, you can do that? Like, because I just would go to doctors and they'd be like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with you. You have all these issues. I was told I had sleep apnea and irritable bowel syndrome and maybe thyroid issues and PCOS, and then functional medicine doctors and alternative doctors would say, you have adrenal fatigue and SIBO and Hashimoto's and hypothyroid and everything else. And then I'd go to the Western doctors and be like, no, you don't have. Anyway, it was a mess. I, slept with a CPAP machine for 3 years at one point. That didn't help me at all. All that to be said, what changed 10 years in? What happened? It's kind of crazy. After all those years of suffering and struggling, I'd say the first 5 years were spent like looking for a magic bullet cure and needing an answer, and needing that answer to be physical. Like, I needed to know what disease I had, what supplement was going to change everything. It was something. I knew it was something, and it had to be. But after about 5 years of that and spending my life chasing symptoms and doctors and taking supplements and going to specialists, I kind of realized, oh shit, there's going to be no cure. There's going to be no fix. Like, this is going to be my entire life. So I actually just kind of gave up. But that to be said, I was also at that time kind of aware that maybe this was like trauma. And even though that was so embarrassing, and I fought against that so hard, the idea of like, this is in your mind, which it's not. Your pain is real. Your fatigue is real. Your suffering is real. But as the person who healed me always says, where I'm going to go to soon and let you guys know, but this is like the tagline that's so important. The pain is in your body, but the solution is not. The solution is potentially in your mind. Meaning, anyway, let's get to the point. The point is Nicole Sachs. TMS, John Sarno. So I had read John Sarno's book, Healing Back Pain, and his 2 other books years before, during COVID, I believe. And I was very aware of that, somatic healing and trauma and mind-body approach. And I was totally open to that being the path to healing for me. But it's interesting, I was actually just listening to Nicole's podcast today, and like a very old episode. I'm going back and listening through all of them. But anyway, and she basically said, like, Dr. Sarno had this book, but that's not enough. And that was so true for me. That wasn't enough. I believed it, but the work wasn't there. Whereas Nicole Sachs and her book, Mind Your Body, and she had a book before that, but that's her newest book, her newest piece of information to give the world to help us heal, along with a million podcasts that are all free. If you're listening to this, you've probably done what I've done, which is listening to a million podcasts, gone to see a million specialists, or seen like a million of these like Instagram healer influencers, and it's always like, comment this and you'll get my ebook, and then it's like you have to spend a bunch of money on a course or something. There's no gatekeeping like that with Nicole, and that's what was like, that's why what she's telling you is so real, because she's giving you everything for free. She wants you to heal. Yes, you can buy her book for a few bucks. You can pay for courses that are really reasonably priced. You can even go to a retreat for a full week that, it's really just pennies. Her actual, like, the cost of her actual time with you to go get to the retreat and stay there for a week, and accommodations might be a little costly, but point being, she's not here to like shake us out and clean our purses out. She's here to heal us, and that just comes across so clearly. So yeah, that's what happened. Is I'd read, so her work is informed by Dr. John Sarno. She had her own huge pain story, and her back, and she was told basically her life was over at the age of 19, and she luckily found John Sarno, and at the time he was still seeing patients, and she was one of his patients, and she healed, and then she's had a huge long journey. She's in her early 50s now, so it's been a long journey of other issues, and really diving into the work and forming her own work, which is phenomenal. And like I said, it's so accessible, and most of it's free. If you don't want to pay a penny, you can go to her podcast and you can listen to like 6 years of an episode almost every week, maybe every week. I think so far I'm listening, and she hasn't missed a week in the year that I'm listening all the way back to the beginning. And they're amazing. Every single episode, I'm like, oh my God, another thing. And I won't lie, when I first read the book, there's always that doubt of like, maybe mine's different. Like, I'm so tired. Like, I literally feel like there's a sponge in, like, my brain is a sponge that's just dry in my head. Like, it hurts, it's heavy, it's on a cellular level. Like, something is wrong with me, and it's been this way for a decade. How is this gonna fix me? And it is a pretty simple approach. It's literally just like getting rid of repressed anger and emotions. You're like, well, I've done that. I've done all that, because I did. I journaled. I saw therapists. I did it all. Anyway, I would just say give her stuff a chance, because I'm going to take a sip of water. Because even after everything I did, there's just something different about Nicole's work. And a lot of what she's trying to explain is that the core of her work is that belief. And so we all have that doubt. And so working past that doubt. So like, read the book. You're kind of like, this could be it. Like, could this be me? I want it so badly to be me. I'm going to work on it. Okay. I'm doing all this stuff, and like, nothing's happening yet until something does happen. And for me, I had insomnia and pain and fatigue for a decade, just constant, pretty much, like no cessation. Sometimes it was horrible, and sometimes it was like just really bad. So that's what I was dealing with. And then all of a sudden I slept through the night. And my head didn't hurt. And I went poo without needing help or magnesium. I mean, these little things started to happen, and then you believe, and then you start getting better and better, and then you believe more, and it kind of cascades. And for me, that took months to get to even that point, and I'm not fully healed. I'm on my journey, and I figure that this is a service that I would have loved to someone to give me. Like, how did I suffer for over 10 years and not know about this? Even though just the podcast episodes I'm listening to have been around for 6 years. And her first book was written like a year after I ever had my first symptom. So crazy that, I suffered for this long. But I think you have to be in the right place in your journey, because when I first started suffering, if you had told me any of this, I would have given you the finger and, told you were full of habooty, because I just wasn't there. I really, there's so many things that feed into the personality of someone who might end up with something like chronic fatigue syndrome, and just this chronic pain and suffering in general. And a lot of it is perfectionist, and maybe a little shame and embarrassment, perfectionism, all that stuff. And that was really true for me. I was really raised that like strength is everything, and showing any weakness is just no bueno. So like the idea of, and it was really tough, because when I did start to suffer, my family's like, yo, buck up. Like, what's up? Anyway, and I had no support. And that's, I think, part of the reason that I suffered for so long. Because there was no financial support, and it was really hard to get treatments and try things, and I ended up living in moldy spaces and getting sicker and blah, blah, blah. But here I am now. I've got 2 kids, I'm married, and I'm finally healing and living my life. And is it perfect? Is it as easy and clear-cut as I wanted it to be? No. I wanted it to be so much sexier than this. I wanted it to be that I tried a vegan diet and I was healed, or I took zinc and all of a sudden my energy was back, or sea moss gel cured me, or whatever. But no, this isn't sexy. This is kind of ugly. This is, at least if you do it exactly as Nicole does it, which I kind of believe you can kind of do it differently. But specifically, her healing is like, read her book, understand the information, and the first pillar, there's 3 pillars, is believe. Just believe you can heal, even if you got to fake it till you make it. The second one is do the work. And the work, which is probably what you want to know, is literally just journaling. And hers is specifically journal speak. And at first I was a little bit hesitant because I got 20 books full of journals that I've written in my house right now that I kept. And there's a lot in there. And it's what I already knew what I was doing. She calls it playing your tapes. And I've heard that before. And it's exactly what I was doing. Just like the same thing over and over again, but without going really deep. Because a lot of journals speak, her modality, her form of the work, you do repeat yourself a lot. You might repeat yourself for years, and that's okay. You might go back and write the same thing every day, but it's kind of getting it. Anyway, all her information is there. I don't need to tell you every specific thing. This is just, if you're like me and you're suffering, maybe you click on this and you're like, oh, this chick says she healed and sounds kind of familiar. I'm going to click away from her and go find Nicole. Because that's what I did. You know, I was, again, after years of giving up, I was back in having a ton of symptoms. And I've got these 2 little kids, and I was not being the mom I wanted to be. I was dealing with more new symptoms. And it was just untenable. Like, my life was unenjoyable, and I didn't want to just live in pain. And so I went back to, and it felt desperate. I hated when I would do this. It was like this whack-a-mole, like, okay, I've got symptoms. I'm going to go find a hormone coach. I'm going to change this diet. I'm going to go into parasite cleanse. And I think all those things are actually, anyway, I'll get into that later. But I still think you can do those things to aid your health. It doesn't mean that just because you're, you know, you believe that your anger, your pain can be cured by getting rid of your repressed anger, whatever it might be. It doesn't mean that you can't also do those things to help you as well. Like, but they need to be approached not from this place of fear of like, if I eat gluten, I'm going to die. And like, that's why my symptoms and my brain fog and everything. It has to be more like, you know what, when I eat gluten, I feel a little puffy. So I might not eat that pizza today. And that's, Nicole calls that, every choice is a choice between what hurts and what hurts worse. So it might hurt not to get to eat the pizza with all your friends, but it would hurt worse to eat the pizza and suffer. And again, I don't need to explain it any more clearly than that, because if you listen to Nicole's work or read Nicole's work or anything that Nicole's putting out there, eventually you'll get to all these points. She really has these key points that she says over and over again. And I think if I continue to record these videos, I'll probably repeat myself over and over again, because I found that was one of the core parts of healing, is not just reading this book and then walking away. It's that every day I do the journal work and I listen to her podcast. So I got off topic, which is, if you're ever going to listen to my videos, I'm chatty, I'm tangential, I'm jumping all over the place. It's part of the reason I've never recorded anything and been so embarrassed to put something online, because I don't feel like it's polished enough. But anyway, at this point, whatever. Here we go. The third pillar, so the first pillar is belief, second pillar is do that work, that journal speak. I can get more clearly into that in a different video. But yeah, it's just, it really is. She says 20 minutes a day, be curious, really, like, what am I actually angry about? And for her, and I'll go into it a little bit right now. For her first line of journal speak was, I hate being a mother. And for her, that was like a shock, because she loved being a mother, but she really went deeper into that, and it brought up everything. And that's when she started to heal herself. And yeah, anyway, it's I would say the curious word, which is a part of that with the journal speak, because I was like, I've written everything, like, what else is there? But like, getting even deeper, like, okay, I hate that my mom didn't do this for me. Okay, but then like, why? And it just, like, you keep going, and like, to really use nasty words, curse, like, and then her idea is you're supposed to rip it up, light it on fire, throw it away. I haven't done that. I keep mine. I don't know why, but I do. Maybe it would be a good practice to get rid of it, but I'm not there yet. Anyway, so that's the second pillar, is the work. And the third pillar is loving kindness towards yourself, which, if I'm being honest, that one I struggle with. I still have a lot of issues with, like, being overweight and disliking myself and not being as attractive as I wish I was. And now I'm aging, and I've got 2 kids, and I'm wearing a hat because all my hair fell out after I had my kids. I've got all these crazy baby hairs. My skin's not looking so good. I'm tired, whatever. So I struggle with that part, especially just like loving my own body. But I am healing it. It's such an interesting process, and that's the point of this video, is if you're just in the mire of SHIT, of pain, and like just paying for specialists and just feeling like you're just exhausted, and you're already exhausted from having chronic fatigue and chronic pain, and now you've got to deal with like trying to heal yourself and all the work that is, and then just the drudgery of like paying all this money to people who really don't help you and they don't know what they're talking about, but you were so desperate and they gave you a diagnosis of Lyme, mold, SIBO, whatever, and you were clinging on to that for dear life because that meant you had something you could attack. That meant that there was an enemy that you could fix potentially, which anyway, that's a whole nother video, and that's actually something I'm really passionate about because of how long it took me to get diagnosed correctly and how many diagnoses I had along the way. How much time and money and pain that caused. So yeah, a video about just like, there's no, if you like got COVID and you're like had long COVID and had it for 6 months, like that sucks, but it's nothing like having 7 years of, before COVID even existed, just desperate pain and losing your life, basically, like your job, your relationships, everything gone, and no one can help you. So that, you know, if you're, God forbid, anybody be in that situation like I was, it's a very desperate, sad place. And it's embarrassing. Nobody, I mean, I'm going to put this into the ethers and hope that nobody I ever know ever sees it, but unless they need the help. But like how embarrassed I was. Oh my God, there's people I left a corporate job that family friends had given me during this time. I've kind of like never really talked to them that much ever again, even though they were some of the closest people in my life, because so embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed about that time. Anyway, this video is getting long. I talk fast, I think. I probably should have taken some breaths. I can feel my nervous system is all wired and tired, and maybe if I do this a couple hundred times, it'll be much more relaxed. But this really is truly my first go. And kind of feel scared. I don't even know how to end it. Except that like I want to keep talking and help everybody and tell them more. But if you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, especially because that's the one I can speak on the most, and my symptoms for chronic fatigue were you know, the fatigue being the worst, first hypersomnia for the first few years, and then devastating insomnia for many years. That was the worst of all my symptoms personally. I think the fatigue is the worst, but insomnia is some sort of hell, because just being exhausted all day and then laying there awake all night is truly hell. Pain all over my body all the time. There was points in my life where I had to like wake up, take a fiery hot bath because my whole body hurt, and then I would have to get to bed at night, I'd have to take another like extremely hot bath or shower, foam roll, like rub like CBD lotion all over my body, and then I would put ice packs all over my body to fall asleep. Insane. And because of the insomnia, I'd put my legs in the air and take chamomile and everything else you can possibly imagine to try to calm my nervous system and get into parasympathetic. And again, all of that stuff I will still do, and I thank God I learned how to support my nervous system, and learned all these things without dying, I guess. But it's approaching them from a place of like, oh, you know, my kids were crazy today and I don't have time to do all those little particular things, and not living in fear and being like, I'm going to be awake all night because I didn't do that, because I didn't drink the chamomile tea and put my legs in the air for 15 minutes. No, it's going to be okay. I'm okay now. I'm fine. And just that mindset is so great. There's one other thing I do want to say, because there might be people listening, and I've already experienced it a little bit on like YouTube, just like commenting on a few things of like, well, I have mitochondrial damage, could that work for me? Or I have viral infections, or but my pain is here and this, and it does. Girl, boy, whatever you are, and something in between, do not start with me. Like, you're not special. Your pain's not special. I mean, unless you have like a broken arm, or maybe cancer, or like a, you know, maybe MS, even those things. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say that like cancer and MS and RA and all these autoimmune diseases are curable with Nicole's work. I do think that it couldn't hurt, especially for things like autoimmune disease. Obviously, cancer is a whole different ball game, and there's a whole bunch of different cancers and levels of cancer. But point being, if you've got chronic pain, it's chronic in your back, your knee, your hip, and it's uncurable. You've gone to doctors, you've done chiropractors, you're not extremely obese, you eat well, you do all these things, and you have chronic pain still, girl, boy, in between, you have to try Nicole's work. Don't sleep on this. It's everything. So her name is Nicole Sachs. Her most recent offering is called Mind Your Body. I got it for free from my library. It was dope. So then I bought it on audiobook and physically. I also plan to go to her one in-person offering that she does anymore, which is all the way in New York. I'm all the way in California. It's a huge deal. I haven't left my kids before. I'm still nursing one of them. I have to wean him just to go to this, but yeah, it's worth it to me. And then she's got little courses. Some of them are a few bucks. You can go on her Facebook page for $2 a month, or you can pay a couple $100 for some like one-on-one courses, I think. Anyway, or one-on-some courses, and it's not crazy. I mean, I had people at points asking me for $3,000 to do a Zoom call with them. So, you know, this lady is legit. She's healed thousands of people, and she's offering you so much more for so much cheaper. And she's a zealot. Like, she believes what she's saying, and that makes you believe, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm apparently thirsty. Okay, it's 20 minutes. I should probably come up with a sign off, but I don't have one yet. So just peace and love. Everything is love, as Nicole would say. It's either love or fear, so approach it with love. Adios.